G'day homesteaders, it's me John Green in my backyard here in the west coast of Ireland. You know, there are three things that make doing things outdoors difficult in Ireland. Number one, first and foremost, rain. I came out to do some work right now. It rained, so I did something in the garage, came out, and look, it's dry. You can even see the church in the background. It's sort of clear skies. But if I pan around this way, you'll see there's more clouds coming. One of the reasons my wife and I moved to Ireland was so that we could avoid the droughts that were taking place in Central Europe, meaning Austria. And in Austria, it had been so hot, like 42, 43 degrees for so long, that the fields were bursting into flame, and all of the crops that were due to be harvested in the summer were lost due to fires. So yeah, we came to Ireland thinking, well, if it rains here all the time, we don't have to worry at all about climate change, because it's always going to be wet and we'll always have water available and the garden will always be green. Yeah, that's only part true. The other half of climate change, which we didn't count on, was that yes, while Austria and Central Europe gets hotter and hotter, Hungary, all the countries around there, Italy's already a very, very hot and dry country. The other countries like Ireland, they're nautical countries. We are near the seaside. I think the seaside's only 20 minutes away by car. You can hear seagulls in the background. That means that the sea is certainly flying distance for a seagull if it comes all the way here to inner Sligo. Sligo's a lovely place, and the reason we came here was because it looks so rugged and lovely. We didn't count on it being also this year or last year being the rainiest year in the history since they've been taking records in Ireland. I don't know how long that is, maybe 200 years. And as it gets drier in some places, it gets wetter in others. So it's pretty much like rain every single day for the last few months. Not a lot of rain, granted. Some days plenty of rain, some days nothing but rain. But today's a lovely day. All right, so what are we doing today? All right, today I wanted to show you this. It's time to put up a privacy screen so that my dog no longer poops in this neighbour's yard, or the next neighbour's yard, or that back neighbour's yard anymore. I said anymore. That's because the neighbours weren't too happy about that, as you can imagine. Because, once I took the hedge out, it literally seemed that there was no barrier. But even when the hedge was in, these hedges are no barrier for a dog. They're not even a barrier for a human. They're only a visual barrier once the leaves come into effect and these new sprouts come out. And I really hope these things come back to life, these hedges, because they would look quite lovely, I imagine. Anyway, we're building a privacy screen, and because it's on an incline, I've had to step the screens. And it's going to be that way probably all the way up the line. Each stone represents where a pole is going to be. I'm going to film as much of it as I think might be interesting, but the important thing is what's behind me here. All right, so I measured every well, I took the measurement of the screen. It's 180 centimeters by 180 centimeters, which is, I believe, 6 foot by 6 foot. In Ireland, in the UK, you can build a fence up to 2 meters high. That's 200 centimeters. I don't know what that is in feet. I was raised on centimeters. And anyway, so these 6 foot screens, I bought them for, I think, like 26 bucks a piece or something, or 28 euros, something like that. And I've been putting in the poles one by one. This is very important. If you see what I've done, I've dug each hole, and they fill up with water pretty quick. Anyway, I've dug each hole at approximately 180 centimeters apart. The reason I have to do it one hole at a time is because if the very first pole isn't exactly 180 centimeters from the next one, then the screen doesn't fit. And then so you think, well, if you put all the poles in one day, and then you came in and put the screens in after the concrete dries, you might find out that your screen doesn't fit into the space anymore. Either there's not enough space, which would be horrific because you can't really move the pole once you've concreted it in, or maybe the screen is falling short of the poles. So what I do here, I made a frame. You can see it. It's very simple. I mean, it's as simple as you can make a frame. And this thing is lightweight, and I can step through it, And it's exactly 180 centimeters by 180 centimeters. And then I put in this framework, put in the next pole, and then attach it to the framework, sort of sturdy it up with this extra arm here that I've put into the dirt, and screwed that to the frame and screwed that to the fence, so everything's nice and straight. Of course I use a level, and when that concrete dries, which it has, it's already been 24 hours, actually 48 hours, I take this screen off and then I attach it to the next pole as I put the next hole to good use. I'm going to film the process, but I can't imagine it's too interesting because I have to just set it up on a tripod. Anyway, you'll get an idea of what my workflow is. I'll try to maybe play this back and fast forward so it's not that boring. I just want you to get an idea of what I'm trying to do. I don't know if it's a trusted and true method. Oh, that's awesome. All right, now let's have a look at that. Once the sun comes out, it's quite lovely. Look at the birds singing. Just unscrewing it from the post. This has to be perfectly flat. So I mean straight along here where this old concrete slab is, that's the support for the pole, for the post. And when this bottom bit kind of laps out or rolls out like this, the post won't be able to stand perfectly still and straight. And that's really the fundamental point of having a fence, is that it's perfectly straight. Right. Sweet. Alright, I'll film it from the back. I'll show you how I put the screen in, screw it all together, and then start on to the next pole. It's a pretty straightforward process. The thing is, I usually wait 24 hours at least between putting the next screen on, because I need the concrete to harden at the foot. Today we'll see how much we can do, because the weather is awesome. Maybe we can get more done than just one. Maybe we could set it all up so it's supported by like footing, and maybe we can do this in one day. It's ambitious because it took me a week to put up these 3 poles and 1 screen because of the rain. Alright, so let's get into it. These are the backing parts that go on. They're the support work for the screen to be screwed onto. So let's get that going. In case you're wondering, these back supports are exactly 180 centimeters also, or 6 foot. So they're the exact same size as the screen, no more, no less. So where this goes is exactly where the screen will be on top, so it's always going to be straight. I have to double check the measurement and get my pencil out. I don't do it too far down the end because they're pretty likely to split. These particular screws have a biting tip, so it's kind of serrated and bores its own hole. But still, that's not going to stop this wood from splitting if there's too much pressure. It's just simple pine that's been treated, so I go in a few inches. So it's a lot stronger back here. And look, there's a knot. So if I go behind the knot, it'll be quite strong. It definitely won't split. As straight as possible. I always start in the middle. That way I can always turn it if it needs to be twisted. from either direction. And I always put it in just past the part where it's flush. Later on I'm going to go in with the stain, the wood protector, and brush in every one of these screw points, so none of this pine will be exposed to the elements. Oh shit. Alright, so because it's stepped, I put the screws in before I put it up, and now I realise that this top screw isn't going to touch anything but air, so I've got to take it out and put it lower. All screwing jobs are easier when you've got a bit of leverage and put your weight behind the work you're doing. There's a giant knot here. That's actually pretty cool. If the wood is a bit twisted, and it always is going to be because it's moist, you know, just sort of bend it or give it a little tweak with your thumb or your hand as you're screwing it in, and it'll be perfectly straight by the time you're done. Lovely. The Irish used to be very small. It's not even a joke. Now, you have to put the rails on the back first. There's no way around that, because now I can push the screen against the rails and lift it, even with my foot. I don't know how heavy this is, 10 kilos, 15, 20, I don't know. But anyway, I can just hold it up, put 2 screws in, it'll hold itself, then I just finish it up. So as long as it's between the rails properly and everything's flush, this baby's going on with decking screws. Perfect fit, 180 centimeters, 6 foot. I only have gumboots on and I can still hold this thing up. Just got to make sure it's flush at the back. Looks a little tight on this end. Awesome. It's so tight. Let's see what happens when I drop it. That's tight. But still, I gotta raise it so it's as high as this point here. Yeah, these have to be stepped all the way down. Let's get started. Perfect. Don't let it slide while you're working. Everything should always be flush, every single step. So you only need 2 screws to hold it up. Now I put the other screws in, of which I put plenty, but always evenly and always far from the ends, unless I do it specifically to lock the corners in. I do it at an angle so I'm further away from the end of the board. So it's basically the same as the amount of screws I put in the back. 1, 2, 3, and then a sort of a locking screw for that bottom pole. And then just between. So you basically got 5 screws per rail. plus that bottom locking one to make sure it's all really fixed in together. Look how flush it is, it's unbelievable. Especially considering this stuff's all been wet. And then I painted it with the weatherproof. Yeah, it's coming out very, very flat. Very straight. Another board down. Right, let's set up this next pole. Magic. The good thing about the framework is it doesn't have to be super precise, so it's always 180 by 180, and the screen itself could move up and down. The frame's just to keep the poles at exactly the right distance. Now it's just floating in air. Don't forget to bitumenize the bottom of your pole. At least a foot of this has to be underground. I'm not sure how much that is. I think we'll put it at about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot underground. As long as the bulk of this has been bitumenized, it'll be able to deal with the moisture. And the rest of the wood's treated anyway. Here's an interesting issue. The hole that I put there is not exactly in the middle. So now there'll be a bunch of concrete on one side and no concrete whatsoever on the other side. That means I actually have to dig the hole bigger right now. So I've cut the hole out a bit more. So now when I put the pole in, there should be an equal amount of space around the whole thing. I can see a giant cloud behind the camera. Even if it rains, I'm going to keep going. Alright, so I stick the pole in now, and hopefully that sits with enough room around it that I don't have to dig anymore. That's pretty good. It always helps if the bottom of the hole is flat too, so then the pole actually stands up easier. Or even leaning back. That's it. Aces. Right. That pole can go deeper. Much better. Well, I'm basically trying to put it so that this bitumen mark is basically flush with the soil. All of this will be filled with concrete anyway, and all of this is protected from the elements. But as long as nothing is on soil level going to be permeable water-wise, it should all be pretty sweet. And look at this. Well, wait, look at this. Sits pretty well. So I'm going to screw this in and fix it up. Normally, I would have that framework there, screw it in, put the footer on there, pour the concrete in, throw a few stones in, wait 24 hours, and then maybe do the next one, or 48 hours. But today I'd like to make a bit more progress because the weather is pretty damn awesome, and even if it rains slightly, I'm going to keep doing this. So what I'm going to do instead of putting up the frame like this, I'm going to unscrew the frame, put the footers in at the back, you know, the rails on the back, measure them from this point, put the rails in, and then put the screen on just straight away. I probably still have to put a footer on though, don't I? I think it's doable. I just have to put a couple of footers on as we go. I've only got 2 footers as it stands. I can always just make a few up. That they're going to be the pieces of wood that hold it from the back. So as long as it's as long as it's straight, and as long as it's basically all in line, as long as there's no giant wind today, we might be able to get this done. Can't believe it. It's been months. Let's see if this works. If not, I'll have to go back to doing one pole at a time. But if this works, this might be good. Or it could be a fail. This might just be crazy enough to work. As I said, all of these splits that you might see here, they could have been prevented by using another drill. Using one drill as the screw, another drill as just a normal drill bit to clear the hole. I don't have two drills, I got one. I don't have time to change the tip every time I want to put a hole in or change a screw. So it's just going to be easier to paint over all of this with a bit of wood stain when I'm finished. You won't even see it in the end. Sweet. Just in case you think I'm bum fluffing it the whole way, check this out. Straight as an arrow. All right. Storm clouds, they're not going to stop us. I put a big boulder in, or a big stone in the bottom of this hole to stop it from pivoting, even though there is a slight breeze. I'm going to try to put another one in, and later on I can pour the concrete for 2 or 3 of them, I guess. Is it lunchtime? Alright, hon, one screw. Alright, it's lunchtime. Time to go in, eat some pasta. When I come back, I'll see what I can do. As you can see, storm clouds come and go. Hasn't rained yet, luckily. We've stepped the ladder pretty nicely all the way up using the frame. The frame has come in very handy. At the moment, I'm just shoring up these posts with boulders so they stay put while I have my lunch. When I come back, I'll try to put a few more in as long as it doesn't get breezy. And if I can, I'll try to finish this today. If not, I'll definitely have to put concrete into these posts today because there's no way around that. If it gets windy at night time, this whole fence could come down because the panels are all attached now. This method of using the frame to find the distances is working. It's a little more difficult to put the panels up because you can only put up one side and the other side hangs off until you put the other post in. But at the moment it's working, and I'm working all by myself. So if you want to show your support, subscribe to the channel, give it a like. You can leave a comment if you want to. Maybe there's an easier way to build a fence by yourself. The fence is nowhere near complete. The bottom will be filled with concrete when we're finished. But each post will get its own concrete footing before we do the final concreting, which will be the whole bottom part here to sturdy up and shore up the whole fence because it gets bloody windy out here at night. Alright, thanks for tuning in. This is Green Ideas, coming to you from Sligo, Ireland.